Aaron, where are you? Where is Aaron right now? You done messed up, Aaron!
Aaron, right here, everyone. Thanks for joining me again. Well, you know who done messed up this time? As usual, the human trafficking cult known as Scientology, David Miscavige, and all of his minions who have decided that when information arises in the course of conducting Scientology about crimes that involve people under the age of 18, they will, under no circumstances, report that information to the authorities. And the reason they done messed up, and the reason why doing this is a huge error on their part, is because of laws dictating who are mandatory reporters of abuse and neglect when it comes to people under the age of consent. So I'm going to share with you, this is not going to be a long live stream, but I wanted to document this. I wanted to start this conversation. And I want to show you something here, because this is one of the things that is going to really trip Scientology up, legally speaking. And well, let's just take a look at this, guys. So this was sent to me by a viewer. This was sent to me by someone who works in an industry where she herself is a mandatory reporter, and pointed out that in many states, clergy, ministers, member of a religious group are in fact mandatory reporters of abuse when it comes to children. So let's just take a look at some things here. What is it that we're talking about here? So mandatory reporters of child abuse and neglect. The Federal Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act requires each state to have provisions or procedures for requiring certain individuals to report known or suspected instances of child abuse or neglect. For this publication, information regarding mandatory reporting laws was collected for all states. The results indicate that all states, the District of Columbia, American Samoa, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, identify in statute the professionals and other persons who are required to report instances of suspected child maltreatment. These statutes also address reporting by other persons, the responsibilities of institutions in making reports, standards for making a report, and confidentiality of the reporter's identity. Let me just check. I see a chat here. Mandatory report will mess with that tax exemption. I could not agree more. That's why I'm so excited to start talking about this stuff. So how I want to conduct this here. This report includes information about all 50 states. Now, the issue that I've been talking about recently on my channel is Scientologist Johnny Mauer, who was found by Scientology to have abused at least 5 underage girls, all staff members. Johnny himself was a staff member when he committed this abuse, and they covered it up completely. To the best of my knowledge, as of right now, these crimes occurred in Western U.S. states. So let's take a look at what this report says for some of the biggest Western U.S. states when it comes to Scientology. So we're going to look first at California. Let's see what we've got. Scrolling here will be a little unbearable, but we're gonna make it through, guys. Okay. California. I'm gonna make this bigger so that everyone can see it. Oh, look at all this. And yep, it does look like this report is current through 2019. That's fine. We'll revisit it later on with maybe more updated information. Professionals required to report. Mandated reporters include the following. Now, I'm not just going to read the entire list. What I'm really looking for here is whether it says clergy members. Oh boy, this is bad news for David Miscavige right here. Little Davey better go back into hiding in his little Keebler elf tree. This is not good, you guys. So right here, the state of California, mandated reporters are, I just lost it, clergy members and custodians of records of clergy members. Oh, dear God, this is even worse than I thought. Now, in the eyes of the law, guys, Scientology auditors are considered ministers, And all Sea Org members are also, at least according to some of the legal filings I have seen and read, Scientology claims that all Sea Org members are ministers. Now, I can tell you that when I was in Scientology, we were told that the ministerial privilege applied to auditors. But if Scientology wants to play that game and pretend that Sea Org members are ministers, then by golly, they are ministers. So what's bad here is that now, technically speaking, any staff member of a Church of Scientology you think would be considered clergy or minister, but who knows? You know, Scientology is going to make different claims in different lawsuits. The state is going to make different claims in different criminal cases. But it says here, not only clergy members, but custodians of records of clergy members. That second part there is lethal for Scientology, devastating, because that makes it more all-encompassing. Someone who just works in the office where they keep track of all the ethics files and the ethics reports and the ethics records and the ethics histories and the ethics summaries. There's all sorts of ethics stuff in Scientology. When these people become aware of abuse that has been committed upon children, they become mandated reporters. I mean, at least if I'm interpreting this correctly, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, guys. I'm just someone who grew up in a cult. But you know, that's part of the reason that we're having this conversation here publicly. I'm throwing this information out there. You guys who are actual experts in this subject, hit me up in the emails, in the comments, in the DMs, and let me know. Is there something I'm missing? Is there some extenuating circumstance that would give Scientology a loophole to somehow be not mandated reporters? I don't think so, guys. But what do I know? I just grew up in a cult. So, okay. So that's California. Let me look at my map. What's another big Scientology state in the West US? Well, you know what? Let's just go one state up. Let's take a look at Oregon. And I guess bear with me while I scroll for Oregon. This is all alphabetical, so that makes this a little easier. Oregon. Okay. I'm going to zoom in again. So right off the bat, oh, Jesus, this is bad news, guys. Uh-oh. More bad news. More bad news for David Miscavige. Uh-oh. Hold on, I do see a comment, so hold on here. Sea Org lady from California who did what husband did. Sea Org lady from California who did what husband did. I'm sorry, Quo Vadis, I don't know what that means. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on, I missed something. Bear with me, guys. Okay, the first comment was, don't forget woman who did as her husband did. Oh, are we talking about Monet? Oh yeah, we're talking about Monet Berenson and Yasha Berenson. Oh, I've got more information coming about Yasha Berenson, by the way, that I just learned today. Yeah, Monet Berenson, she's now Monet Fisher, maiden name Monet Pearson, and her husband, ex-husband, Yasha Berenson, both Sea Org officers, now former Sea Org officers, both committed acts like what we're talking about here. And I found out that Yasha, who I played a video last week of Yasha getting tackled by a bunch of sheriff's deputies in an undercover sting operation to catch predators. He was sent to prison. He's already served his time. I found out that he was already caught committing similar acts against people under the age of consent while in the Sea Org. And it was covered up, not reported. Scientology already knew this guy had a history of such abuse, and they still didn't make sure society was protected from him. Okay, we got legal opinion. You are right, mandatory reporter. Well, thank you for that. I just love when people tell me that I'm right. Even more, I love when I am right. Okay, Oregon, here we go. Professionals required to report. Physicians, school employees, employees of the health department, peace officers, members of the clergy. Guys, I don't know, it may not be commonly understood how Oregon is a big state for Scientology, but if I can get my mouse to cooperate with me here. So Portland, Oregon, or it's either Portland or Sheridan, one of the biggest private Scientology schools in the world, actually the biggest private Scientology school in the world, is located in Oregon. It's called Delphi. Delphi, Oregon. And it serves a lot of well-off Scientology families send their kids there. It serves as a recruiting pool for orgs and for the Sea Org. The Portland Scientology organization is located not far from Delphi. So the people in Portland, the people at Delphi do their Scientology at the Portland org. A lot of Delphi staff members do their Scientology at the Portland org. And for some reason, Portland's always kind of been a hotbed for Scientology. I don't really know why. So, yeah. So California, we've got clergy mandated reporters. Oregon, let's take a look at, let's just jump to Texas. Texas is a big state for Scientology. Just because it's so big. Hold on. Sorry, guys, I'm looking at the comments here. I'm certain I sent you this document about mandatory reporting. Yes, it probably was you. Only one person sent me the document, so I don't remember the name on the email, but if you say it was you, it was you. And thank you for doing it. I mean, once I looked at the document, I was like, bingo, we're doing this video today. Dave better go get a good elf lawyer. He is in trouble. He certainly is in trouble. Okay, Texas. Oh, wow. That was a professional scrolling job that I did there. I'm a little worried that the southern, eastern states might not be so generous with their mandatory reporting laws, if you know what I'm saying. Professionals required to report. Teachers, nurses, juvenile probation officers. Really, that's it? Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised? However, we do have this. Reporting by other persons. A person who has cause to believe that a child has been adversely affected by abuse or neglect shall immediately make a report. Well, this gets very interesting because what happens in Scientology when something like this is discovered is that Scientology digs in. Now, they do this whenever they discover wrongdoing. They dig in because Scientology is very much about holding people accountable for their wrongdoings. It's just that Scientology does it in a way that benefits Scientology. So if Scientology finds out you're up to no good, they want to know every nook and cranny of what you're doing so that they can hold you accountable by requiring you to make amends. And that usually involves making financial donations to Scientology. So, and they want to know who else is involved so they can get all up into those persons' businesses so that they can all up into the business of those persons so that they can then require that those persons make amends. And that will require either doing free labor for Scientology or donating money directly to Scientology or for this Scientology cause or that Scientology cause. So Scientology is very good in getting all up in their members' business. And in doing so, in the course of doing all of this, many people become aware of each other's wrongdoings. And so that means when public Scientologists become aware that a child in Scientology has experienced abuse, particularly, we're talking about a very specific type of abuse, they become mandatory reporters, if I'm understanding this correctly. What I was really hoping to find here, I mean, what I'm really honing in on, focusing in on here is when clergy members are mandated reporters, because that puts the responsibility, the burden onto Scientology itself. And that's what I'm most interested in. So even though it's not in the West US, I was going to say, let's check on Florida, but you know what? Screw that, because Florida is not in the West US and it's not what we're talking about here. So let's pick states where Scientology has business going on. We're going to go to New Mexico. Albuquerque is a hotbed for abuse in Scientology, if I'm being perfectly honest. So New Mexico, let's find you. Okay. Okay. Mandated reporters in New Mexico. Members of the clergy. Oh, no. That's bad news. That's bad news. Someone in the comments asking for my email address. growingupinScientology@gmail.com. You can reach me there. I cannot tell you how much Scientology child abuse I have heard about coming out of Albuquerque org. the Zombati family, the Apodaca family, I'll spare a couple families the embarrassment of mentioning them. But the Zombatis and the Apodacas, and I'm not saying, I'm just mentioning those families. I'm not even saying whether they're the perpetrators or the victims of the abuse. But those are big families in New Mexico. They've been there for generations in Scientology. And yeah, the name Manon Schwobel comes to mind. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't know how law enforcement has not figured out that when you combine Scientology's meticulous methods of interrogating its staff members, combined with its meticulous methods of documenting and reporting everybody's wrongdoing, combined with their policy of never reporting crimes to the authorities, I don't understand how law enforcement at the city level, the state level, and the federal level has not figured out that this is how they can nail Scientology. This is how they can get them. Systemic, wholesale, and chronic violations of mandatory reporting laws. Now, someone explained to me today that it might be one thing if somebody in a confessional says, I did X, Y, and Z to a child, that might be protected. But if the child says X, Y, and Z was done to me, boom, that's mandatory reporting, even if it's in a confessional. To the best of my knowledge. I'm not a lawyer. This is not a legal advice. What do I know, guys? I just grew up in a cult. Okay, so we've covered a few states now. Let me see. Let me pick another state. You know what? Let's go Washington. Come on now. Okay. Washington State. Let me zoom in on this. Mandatory reporters. I do not see clergy. Let me look a little closer. Okay, law enforcement officers, school personnel, nurses, departments, licensed departments, juvenile liaisons, state host programs. Okay, persons who supervise employees or volunteers who train, educate, coach, or counsel children or have regular unsupervised access to children. That's pretty general. I don't know if that would be good enough. Department of Corrections personnel, any adult with whom a child resides, guardians ad litem, and court-appointed special advocates. Okay, so this is interesting. Any adult with whom a child resides. I have some thoughts on that. Okay, so we have one. Thank you for that, Pat. Nancy Ives, took my daughter on a tour to the Oregon Delphi School. Fortunately, we couldn't afford it at the time. Really dodged a bullet there. Yeah, Delphi is not cheap. I mean, it might even be like $30,000 a year, and it's just a high school. It's crazy. Okay, so guys, here's my thoughts on any adult with whom a child resides. So if you're a Scientology parent and you become aware that your Scientologist child was abused by a Scientologist, you become a mandatory reporter. I instantly feel slightly uncomfortable about that, because if the law were to step in, so not only has the child been harmed, but the Scientology parent would be expelled from Scientology for reporting it to the authorities, but the authorities could step in and actually take legal action against the parent. That's a really tough situation. Now, don't get me wrong. As an adult with a child, I mean, you'd immediately think anything happens to my child, you better be damn sure law enforcement's getting involved. But Scientologists don't think that way. And a Scientologist parent would almost never involve the authorities. And they would claim it's for religious reasons. So I guess this is why I'm saying that what I'm really looking for here is states where the clergy members are mandated reporters, because I'm not looking to double penalize a parent. I wouldn't take any joy in that. And it probably, actually, I'm kind of of two minds on this issue. Like, you know, any parent who would rather protect Scientology than protect their child probably deserves some time behind bars, perhaps. But again, it gets complicated. I mean, this gets complicated. And that's why I'm looking for instances where Scientology specifically has a duty to report, because it's Scientology that runs around silencing all the victims. It's not the parents of the victims who are running around silencing all of their own children per se. They do have to sort of go along with it. But believe me, it is Scientology who, out of its own self-interest, is making sure it is putting pressure on the parents to help silence the children. Okay, Washington, Christian Science practitioner are mandatory reporters. Is that close? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm assuming you're referring to case law. Is there case law that says that? Because isn't this Washington that I'm looking at here? It is. Clergy aren't. Christian Science practitioners are medical. Christian Science practitioners are medical? I thought Christian Science was one of those groups that didn't allow medical intervention. But am I completely getting that wrong? Am I just totally conflating with another religious group? So if Christian Science is medical, yeah, that's different, isn't it? But again, so in Washington, we'd be talking about the parents. We'd not be talking about Scientology itself. Okay, fine. It's, you know, not fine. We want those laws to change. But the fact that most Scientology activity on the West US occurs in California, and the fact that clergy members in California are mandated reporters, that's a huge deal. Because I can tell you this, that when this type of abuse comes up in Scientology, that information is always forwarded and shared with the Office of Special Affairs in California, in Los Angeles, because that's where management, that's where West US management is located. It's also where middle management is located. But even if middle management isn't dragged into the conversation, you best believe that West US management is. And that's located right smack dab in Los Angeles on L. Ron Hubbard Way off of Sunset Boulevard. So that's really good news. Let me just pick another state. Let's go Colorado. Let's see what the mandatory reporting laws are like in Colorado. Hold on, let's see here. I see a comment. What if the clergy are children? Yeah, that happens in Scientology. I wonder if they can be considered mandated reporters if they are minors themselves. Well, I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, but it seems to me that the first problem is that you would even have clergy members who are children, and yet Scientology does. And yet it would be hard for me to imagine mandatory reporting laws making exemptions for mandatory reporters who are also minors. I think the law doesn't even consider that you could have someone in a position of being a mandatory reporter who is a child. Like what organization outside of Scientology has children in ministerial positions? I don't know of any. And so you probably raise an interesting question, because there may not be any precedent on that issue, because no one ever considered that should even be a thing. And yet, but I can tell you this, in any instance in Scientology where you have a mandatory reporter who is a child, that is not the only person who would be a mandatory reporter who would know about that information. Do you know what I mean? Okay, let's see here. Failed to report in California equals 6 months in jail and $1,000 fine. That's really good to know. That is really good to know. So what did I say we were going to look at? Colorado? All right, let me pull it up real quick. I must have missed it here. Okay, there it is. Zooming in. Is that highlighted? Did I do that? Oh, I did. Okay, Colorado. Professionals required to report. Oh, I see a thing here. Regarding your recent stream on Hulk Hogan and Sky Daily, is that the same girl that you had an incident with at the cigar bar? It 100% is the same. Well, the incident wasn't with her. It was with her boyfriend at the time. But yeah, same person, exact same person. Okay, so here we go. Back over to this thing. Colorado, professionals required to report. Physicians, public social workers, vets, clergy members including priests, rabbis, duly ordained, commissioned, or licensed ministers of a church. Oh, wow, this is really bad. Members of religious orders or recognized leaders of any religious bodies. Guys, how have the authorities not used this to nail Scientology yet? 2023 is the year Scientology really regrets that I have a YouTube channel. 2023 is the year we get the authorities to do something against Scientology on the basis of violations of mandatory reporting laws. It's a really bad time to be David Miscavige right now, you guys. It's a really bad time to be Scientologist, child abuser Jonathan Maurer. It's a really bad time. It's a really bad time to be in Scientology. Okay, well, thank you for going through this document with me, guys. I actually wanted to do this on this live stream with you guys. I did not actually review this. I didn't want to already know whether I was going to be sharing with you bad news or good news. I wanted to find out with you guys. I suspect that if we were to dig up Florida right now, the laws would not be as protective of children. Why don't we just do that, guys, so I can stop just speculating? Thank you for keeping us informed. All your hard work is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Appalachian Crochet Designs. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, do you see CS practitioners there? I'm not sure if you mean like here where I am in Florida or in the document, but I did not say where it said Christian Science practitioners, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, so let me just pull up Florida. Let's see if Florida, Florida is the largest Scientology organization in the world. The location of the largest Scientology organization in the world is Clearwater, Florida. Probably where some of the most abuse of children has occurred is Clearwater, Florida. Let's see what Florida's laws are like as far as protecting children. Physicians, health professionals, practitioners who rely on spiritual means for healing. Oh, that might do the trick. Scientology would certainly tell you that they are practitioners who rely solely on spiritual means for healing. I don't know why they wouldn't just use the language clergy, though. Teachers, social workers, law enforcement officers. Okay. All right. So, I don't know, guys. Do you think that's good enough? Jump into the chat here. Practitioners who rely solely on spiritual means for healing. Is that good enough to go after Scientology auditors, ethics officers, case supervisors for violating mandatory reporting laws? SCOTUS have said not religion. IRS act now. Yeah. So guys, to take up this comment here, the Supreme Court of the United States has a ruling on its books that stating that Scientology is not a religion qualifying for tax exempt status due to the pay for play nature of their, their what do you call it? Their price list. Due to the fact that Scientology is a pay for play scheme. You pay to take a course, you pay to get auditing, it's not free. There's a ruling on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has ruled that Scientology is not eligible for tax exemption. And when the IRS gave Scientology its tax exemption back in 1993, it was in fact in direct violation of a Supreme Court ruling that still stands. When the day comes that the IRS reviews Scientology's tax exempt status, what I just said, I believe, will at least contribute to them reversing their decision about Scientology's tax exemption. Let me see. We got a super chat like. Thank you, Mary Claire. Thank you very much. And let me see. We got another one here. Please thank the family for giving us so much of your time. Well, I certainly will. And it's one of the reasons I like doing these live streams compared to the edited videos is I can do a 20-minute live stream with you guys, and that's a 20-minute video. It might take me 2 or 3 hours to edit and upload a 20-minute video. So it does allow me to spend more time with the family. It's one of the reasons I've really been embracing them. So, okay, let me think about this. Practitioners who rely solely on spiritual means for healing. I don't know, maybe the Florida legislature felt like they had to be really cute there because like people would be so up in arms here in Florida if you said just the word clergy. Or maybe what it is, maybe this actually applies to Scientology in a way that it doesn't apply to a normal, let's just say, Christian church. Would a Christian minister claim that they rely on spiritual means for healing? No, I think a Christian minister would probably say, we don't heal. We just introduce people to Jesus or God. Forgive me for butchering anything relating to this. I just grew up in a cult. I'm not a religious scholar. Whereas practitioners who rely solely on spiritual means for healing. I wonder if Scientology would walk into court and claim that they do not heal. Maybe that's what they would say. We don't heal spiritually or otherwise. This is a tough one, guys. This is a tough one. I mean, I guess unless this is tested in the courts, we won't know whether this language here is good enough to get Scientology. Florida equals yes, qualify or else service is not a religion. I don't know what that means. Florida equals yes, qualify or else service is not a religion. Just not sure what that one is. Jessica Hankins, the Boy Scouts were forced to open their perversion files, records of every abuser. Scientology should do the same, every case file. The problem is that Scientology doesn't have specific files just for instances of abuse. They, like there's certain files that are kept on every Scientologist, but there's not like some special, bin or type of file or type of report specifically for abuse of children. Now, if you're a former Scientologist or a former Clergy member out there, and you actually have information to the contrary, that there is a special, I'm saying bin, but that's not really the right language. If there is like a special list for offenders against children that's kept somewhere up at OSA INT or Senior HCO INT, that would be interesting information to have. But I'm telling you guys, I am going to be like a dog with a bone on this Jonathan Maurer situation, especially since it involves Tom Cruise's son, Connor Cruise. Not especially, but I'm hoping the media, maybe that will help the media pay attention to this in a way that they otherwise would not care about. Jonathan Maurer was busted not only for abusing children, but also for committing credit card fraud that he was doing with Connor Cruise. And I don't really care about the Connor Cruise aspect. I care about what Jonathan did to these kids. But if talking about Connor Cruise and his potential involvement with Johnny Maurer gets the media to help put pressure on law enforcement and other agencies to dig into this and helps get anyone to start attacking this from the perspective of violations of mandatory reporting laws, then that's what I'm going to do, guys. That's what I'm going to do. So, okay, I won't keep going on and on about this. And perhaps what I'll do, let me go all the way back to the beginning here. Is that the beginning or is that the end? That's the end. I'll get my hands on an updated report here on the statutes current through, at this point, 2023. All right, you guys, that's what I have for now. If I missed any chats, many apologies for that. I'll do my best to get them all next time. And this is my last one for the day. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe